The Buddha once said that expectations are the root cause of all angst and sadness in this world. But for as long as there have been employees and employers, they've always had expectations of each other. Now we are in a situation where almost 5 generations or 6 generations of employees are working together, from baby boomers to Gen Z. Do we really have a good handle on employee expectations today, especially from the younger generation? Or is there a radical reform that is required in companies' understanding of this young workforce and what they actually require? Let's close the loop on this. Joining me on Close the Loop is Manish M. Manish is the HR head of Centum Electronics EMS. Manish, welcome to Close the Loop.
Thank you.
So have employee expectations changed over the years? What's the 2024 version of?
Yes, expectations have changed. Let me try and address this through some of the questions that I have been asked, right, by potential employees. And when I say potential employees, I mean employees who are just now clearing their MBAs or clearing their engineering and are coming into the workforce. So earlier, let's say about 7-10 years ago, if I went to a college and if I were addressing a group of students, the questions they would ask would normally be on, what kind of a role will I get? What kind of a career path do you have in the organization? Of course, some questions on what would be the starting salary and all of that. Now, when I go to institutes and I talk to students, the questions they ask are, what do you do about diversity?
Yeah.
What do you do about the environment? How do you empower people? How will you ensure work-life balance for me? I've had people coming for interviews, young boys and girls coming for interview, who've asked questions like, I will take time off for about a month to do, so there was this one particular incident I remember. This guy said, hey, I want to take 1 month off in a year. I will take care of the fact that it does not impact my work or the projects that I'm involved in.
Okay.
But I will take 1 month off because I go off to
the
other
mountains.
Parts of the world to do social service. He works with UNICEF, or he does some volunteer work with pets and all of that. So he says 1 month in a year I'm going to be taking off. So these are the expectations nowadays from employees.
So, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just shows that today's workforce is very different. They're thinking differently. They are opening their eyes wider than we did when we started.
Yeah. What's important here to understand is it's not whether you like it or not. That's the reality.
That's the reality.
First of all. Yeah. So there's nothing good or bad about it. That's the reality. I think the most important thing for organizations and for HR to understand from this is that, unlike the previous generations, including up to and including the millennials, work is not everything for this new generation that's coming in. Work is only a part of the life, of the overall life.
Correct.
So this generation is very clear that work is only one aspect of my life. I have other aspects of my life also which are equally important.
So I want to pick up on that point because off late Mr. Narayan Murthy was in the news for saying that you have to work for 70 hours.
Yes.
Now, of course, wearing his shoes, that's probably what he's done. And he's a founder. And he's built a company, and you need to work that many hours. But it's also sort of symbolic of a thought world difference between, I would say we are two middle-aged people, fair to say.
Absolutely.
So when we started work, we probably have more idealistic notions of hard work, and you have to give it your all and all of that.
True.
So how's the employer looking at this? Like while we agree that it's great, but there's also the practicality of work, right? You have to be productive, you have to deliver results, you have to work with other people who may not be like you.
Yes.
Right? So where does this kind of workforce, the person that you give an example of, if you were to hire that person, would that person really fit in to the current state of the workforce?
The way I see it is, of course, companies need to change. There's no doubt about it. And some companies are somewhere along that journey. Some have yet to start. Some are still trying to figure this out.
Right.
So, but is change required on the organization side? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. That change is required because this is your workforce. Today, in a lot of companies, this age group comprises about 50 to 60% of the workforce, at least 30 to 40%.
Less than 30 years old. Yeah.
Yes, less than 30-year-olds. And very soon they will become the 70% or 80% of your workforce. So if you want these people to come and work with you, and especially when there is so much of talent shortage, and this is a known fact that companies everywhere are struggling for talent. You ask any HR or if you ask any CEO of any company today, what are the top 3 things that are keeping you awake? Talent is definitely in the top 3. So given that situation, of course, companies have to change to accommodate this. Now, to your question on so what do companies have to do, given that there is a business side of things? See, we have to understand that these people who are coming in, they're not saying that we will not work. But they're saying that the way we approach work is different from the way you have
approached
in the past. So they're saying, for example, that
volume of time and the volume of output.
They don't want to be they don't want to be directed, and there is a reason for that. At least the way I see it is because they have so much information on their palms right now, right? And these are people who have completely grown up in the digital age. See, you and I, we are the confused generation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We lived in the totally non-digital age to the totally digital age, and we are trying our best to balance these two worlds. These people, on the other hand, they have grown up completely in the digital age. They have grown up with smartphones, they've grown up with the internet, they've grown up with information available at the click of a button. So they are saying, we will co-create. We will work together on this. You tell us what needs to be delivered, but you don't tell me, okay, that you have to stretch hours. If needed, I will do it for a short period of time. If I'm stretching every day, then I will come back to you and I'm going to say, hey, we are stretching every day. What is the problem? So the 70 hours thing that Narayan Murthy spoke of, they're willing to put in the 70 hours for a period of time when necessary, and then go back to balancing.
So it's need-based, but it can't be a rule that you have to put in an X number of hours.
This rule thing is something that they are not okay with, because they love to challenge rules. And in some sense, I think that's okay, because if you don't challenge the rules, how will you evolve?
But do you think that confidence, I think, let's say the earlier generation wouldn't challenge the status quo because they felt, okay, I'll lose my job. And it might happen even now, but they feel like, it's okay, I have options. Is that what is giving them the confidence?
Also, because they are now coming from families which have already secured the financial aspect. So earlier, it used to be that you have to study, you have to somehow get a good job, and life was very well set and laid out for you. You study, you get a good job, get into a good company, and I remember 20 years ago, it was get into a Tata or a Birla or a Godrej, which is very stable. The money was not so important, but it was the stability was important, because you had to provide for bread and butter on the table.
Correct.
This generation is not in that situation anymore, because their parents have taken care of financial security.
So coming back to the what does not work. One is telling
does not work.
Okay, what else doesn't work?
Okay, so telling, saying that this is the rule, and saying this is how it has always been done, does not work. What probably works, one is, as you said, the reverse mentoring is something that a lot of companies are doing. They're asking them to speak to their seniors on ways of working and how things need to be done. As I said earlier, this co-creating, this inclusion has become a very big part of their way of working. Okay.
So co-creating what? Policies and
everything. Policies, way of working, projects, planning things, everything. They want to feel included.
Okay.
They want to be a part of the entire process. They don't just want to be treated as, earlier we had this thing, senior and junior, right? Hey, you're a junior. Just listen.
Yeah. True.
Okay, you're a junior. They are not okay with that
Fresher.
anymore. Fresher, junior. So these words are not okay. They're not okay. Which is why, if you see, even companies nowadays are not using these words, fresher and junior. They're using terms like young talent.
Okay, nice.
So they are talent, just as much as others are talent in the company. They're young talent.
Okay.
So they want to be included in this entire process, and this co-creating is extremely important for them to be.
So that's utilized. The thing that works. So
that works.
Instead of telling, co-creating.
Co-creating.
And what else have you seen working with? So in conclusion, what is your advice to the HR community and the leadership of today's companies? Because I think many of them see this.
Yeah.
Some of them acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Even fewer companies are actually doing something about it, because there's still a lot of inertia around notions of what work ought to be.
Right.
So what's your advice to them in 2024 on how to build this bridge with this young generation?
One is, as I said, getting the culture of inclusion quickly into the organization. Get these people involved. Understand that they're also sensible people, and they understand, if you speak to them with logic, that why an idea of theirs is being accepted or not accepted. And yes, there are some areas where the company needs to put its foot down, and you have to. And they understand that. So start treating them like mature adults. Include them into things. Don't be too hung up on rules, as we discussed. This rules thing is definitely an allergy for them. So don't be too hung up on rules, and you proactively identify areas where you could change some of those rules. Third, and very important, is look at creating ecosystems within the organization where they can be involved in things other than work, which are also equally important for them. Where you cannot, as you said, respect and acknowledge that there are other aspects of life which are also equally important for them, and get into policies, create policies that allow these people to pursue those aspects of life. If you don't do it, your competitor will. And they will go there. You will find it increasingly difficult to attract talent if you don't acknowledge and if you don't accept that this is the new reality.
Got it.
That is extremely important.
Perfect. And I hope, I'm sure that audience will find this very insightful, and they'll probably use it to reflect on whether they're doing enough or not. And I feel that the younger workforce might be looking at us and saying, two middle-aged guys talking about but it's fine. Well, we have to. Somebody has to.
Somebody has to. And we have to manage this.
We have to.